Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of the PureCloud Community's Q&A show, the show where we answer your pressing questions in the Genesys online community. My name is Matt Lawson. I am your online community manager, and today, one of our favorite experts is back. I'm talking about none other than George Ganahl. George is joining us for his 8th time on the program, which is pretty exciting. We're going to sit down, answer some questions together, and then we're going to do the community Newsflash, where George and I go through the top 5 things you need to know going into the month of October. So it's a pretty packed episode. What are we waiting for? Let's get started. George, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Good to see you.
It looks like your office has gone a little dark since we last saw you. What's happening?
Yeah, I'm just trying out a few different options for decor, deciding what I'm going to put. Now, I thought about this one maybe for our thing today, but I'm guessing you probably won't go for it much.
Oh, there he is.
I mean, of course, I don't like the way it kind of max headrooms me in the background, so.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
All right. Well, that's always fun to play with. Nice. I thought you were just going through a goth stage. I wasn't sure what was happening. George, what are we waiting for? Let's go ahead and hop into the community and answer some questions. So as you know, this first question was actually selected by you, and it comes to us from a long-time contributor named Mohammed. Mohammed wanted to know about pop-up screen number format change. Mohammed writes, "Hi. I have implemented the integration of client in-house CRM system to use as a pop-up screen to the agents to show customer information. I can bring the pop-up screen up with CRM page, but the problem is number format. Whenever a customer calls to the call center, pop-up screen link shows TL5XXXX as a number format, which will not be recognized in the client backend CRM system. I need to change this from telephone number 5XXXX to 05XXXX. I was using update data variable to change the number format while landing the call in the queue, but it seems it doesn't work. I have attached a video showing the same of what I explained. George, it looks like you actually tried to provide a little bit of an explanation here, but our friend Mohammed is still having just a little bit of a problem. So what do you think, George? Do you have maybe a slightly deeper dive you can present to him?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and show a little bit of a walkthrough on how I set it up in my system. It may or may not help Mohammed because he is using the CRM system embedded client, and he would have to set up the variables within that embedded client properly to receive what's being sent by Architect. But I'm going to show it with a standard script in PureCloud, and then hopefully from that he'll be able to see how it works there and then flip over and be able to use it in his own system.
Awesome.
Hopefully.
See what you have. All right.
So let me go ahead and bring up my screen. Got my PureCloud admin screen up. And what I did first is that I went into my script that I'm using for my screen pop. And this one I'm just using inbound sales. And I left in one of the default options, which is the customer's number, the scripter.customer formatted number. That's the one that just brings the call.Annie variable straight across from Architect. So that's the one that comes in by default. And then I also set up a second one, custom Annie, to show how I change it in the Architect flow to then put it in the display format that he wanted. Hopefully, like I said, he'll be able to set up the same variables so that they can get it across to the CRM system. But for this variable, the custom Annie, I had to go into my variables section here and set up a new string variable. I had to make it an input value because I want to input it to the script from Architect, and then set up the value to be this custom Annie by name. That's the variable that's going to show up in this text field here in the script. So I just got a little label and then the text field that's going to display the custom Annie when it comes in. So the key part there is custom script, custom string variable, and set it to input so that I can send it from Architect. Then over in Architect, I went ahead and set up a flow with this task built in. And first thing is I'll create this custom Annie string. So I named it flow.string Annie just to match up with what we had in the example in the community. And I'm using the replace function to replace part of a string. Call.Annie is not a string by default, so I have to convert it to a string. And then I'm going to replace the string tel : with a 0 because he needs to have his start with a 0 instead of the tel : That's fairly straightforward there. Then I'll set up that screen pop and the inputs to the screen pop. There's the custom Annie. That's the name of the field that I created, and I'm just going to pass in flow.string Annie. And then transfer it to the sales queue. Then hopefully if it all works properly. So I jump over here, I'm on queue. I'm going to send a call into the queue.
Thank you for calling my Pure Training.
For customer service.
Please wait for a sales associate.
So here the call came in. And you can see the original Annie from the script is tel : just like Mohammed was describing. My custom Annie starts with the 0 instead. So I was able to convert it in the flow, send it over as an input variable to my script, and now it comes in as that customized value. Hopefully, Mohammed will be able to do the same thing in his CRM script. Hopefully, that's enough information to get him going.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for that walkthrough, George. And yeah, Mohammed, we definitely hope that was helpful. If not, just let us know in the community. Well, George, as you know, the easy part is behind us. Everything that you had planned going into this episode is gone. Darkness lies ahead. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's answer some questions that have no answers. It's time for Stump the Expert.
It's time for Stump the Expert. We love it when questions in the community get great answers, but these questions fell on hard times. No one was able to answer their plea for knowledge. Can our ragtag group of experts provide a helping hand? If not, there's still hope. We'll shuffle the question to our bounty board where community members can saddle up and take their best shot at answering. If they receive the best answer, they can save the day and earn some lucrative GCAP points for doing so. Giddy up!
My thinking hat for the day is in honor of my first day of cold ride.
Oh, no. Oh, look at that.
This will warm up my brain a little bit and hopefully get me to where I can actually answer one or two of these questions.
Very nice. We will call you Street George, the
Yes.
streetwise expert who doesn't know when to quit. All right, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and get started with question number 1. It comes to us from Steven. Steven wants to know about outbound caller ID for Communicate. Hello, is there a way to either 1, customize outbound caller ID and name, or 2, customize outbound caller name, CNAME, for PureCloud Communicate users, and specifically on a user-by-user basis without configurable caller ID? My understanding is the configurable caller ID is entered each call, but we want to see it once. We know there is a trunk level setting for all or call on behalf of a queue for agents, but this is only for some of our Communicate licensed users. Thanks. What do you think, George? Any advice for Steven?
Yeah, and I'm not sure fully what he's asking because part of it seems to be describing what's our built-in functionality. When you go into the trunk settings, there is a place where you can set on each each external trunk the name that will be sent, so the caller ID information, and the phone number associated with the trunk. And if you want to, you can change the settings so that it will always send the same number and name, or you can have one or both of those values replaced with whatever is set at the user level or queue level or station level. So if a Communicate user does have a DID assigned to them, and you have the settings in the trunk set up to replace the default value there with whatever is set on the the user level, then it should just pass their name and phone number, their assigned DID phone number, as the outbound caller ID information. And I'd have to go look at the trunk setting again to remember exactly the name of the setting, but it's basically something along the lines of, if no DID is set, then use this custom one. But if there is a DID already set on the station user queue, then use the one that's assigned there.
Gotcha.
And I'm not sure that's exactly what was being asked, but that's the way the system is set up to work.
Cool. So we hope that was helpful. And if not, maybe you can just provide a little bit more information. All right, George, let's go ahead and move on. Our next question comes to us from Mayul. Is it possible to force agent to only make ACD calls? Hi, community. One of our customers wants to prevent agents from making, quote, basic calls and force them to always make ACD calls by selecting a queue. I think this is not doable with the existing permissions available. Can somebody confirm or infirm that point? Thanks. George, I wanted to bring this question up because I know we now have some advanced agent routing features that have just been released. I was thinking something like that may be helpful in this instance, but I'm not an expert. You are. What do you think? Any advice?
Yeah, the new features were basically for inbound calls, so they would not apply to a situation where we're trying to place outbound. And I would have to go experiment with it to make sure. I know that there is the permission that allows somebody to place a call in the first place, and then there's another permission to be able to place a call on behalf of a queue, and those calls are placed from two totally different areas within the client. One is placed from the basically the screen where you answer inbound ACD interactions, and then the other one is from the phone pane by clicking the phone in the left-hand column. So if you take away the rights of a person to place calls, period, then it takes away that phone icon in the left-hand pane. What I can't remember is whether they still have the right to place a call on behalf of the queue. And it might work, but then again, if you take away the rights to place calls, it may just take away rights to place all kinds of calls. I just can't remember on that one. So I'm stumped a little bit on that one.
Oh, I like
I
to
know I
hear
looked
that.
at it previously, but I just can't remember what I figured out.
Oh, man. Well, you said my favorite word on the show, stumped. So we will go ahead and put it on the bounty board. If anybody has some advice or can help our friend out, you can earn some valuable GCAP points in the process. So let's get it up on the board and hopefully an answer can fly in. George, let's go ahead and try to do one or two more. We're moving at a pretty quick pace. This next one comes to us from Darren. And Darren wanted to know about Outbound Attempted. Darren writes, "Hi all, does anyone know much about the Outbound Attempted column on the interactions view? I have noticed when operating outbound campaigns that although we have attempt limits set up on the campaign, it doesn't reflect these limits, but creates a new entry for each connected number. It also reattempts previously identified numbers that were identified as disconnected, which is concerning considering that it would count towards the connections. Has anyone else observed the same behaviors or noticed that the outbound attempts does not reflect the actual result?" George, you may not have observed this, but do you have any thoughts as to Darren's question?
Yeah, I was just going to say no because I haven't observed it.
Fair enough. We can skip
But
this.
I do know that sometimes statistics get a little bit off just depending on how well communications are flowing with the cloud. I have no idea if that has anything to do with it. And it would probably, unfortunately, take a customer care case to really dig in and figure out if things are wonky there.
Gotcha. All right, let's go ahead and just do one more and we can close the book on Stump the Expert. This question comes to us from Paul. He wanted to know about change callback caller ID dynamically. Paul writes, "We have a customer that serves several different geographical markets. They have a few different DIDs that all go to the same queue. We would like to be able to use the DID from the original call as the caller ID used when the agent performs a callback. Instead of the caller ID assigned to the queue. Customers might be confused if they're getting a call from a different area code when they called a local number. Is there a way to do this?" What do you think, George?
Yeah, I would have to go look at the settings to be sure in the rules and figure out whether there's anything that can be set to change the phone number that's used for the callback. May not be anything on that because we don't really design the same queue to be used with multiple caller IDs. About the only thing I could think of would be a setting on the trunk as well, where you could change it up, but you only have, I think, 3 options there before you run out of options. If you have 4 or 5 different queues, it would not work to change it on the fly based upon the caller ID that's being presented. But even then, yeah, I'm just babbling on that one. It would not be a good solution.
Gotcha.
So if there's nothing on the rules, then no, I don't know of anything that could be used for it.
Gotcha. All right. Sorry, Paul, I don't think we were able to help too much, but hopefully you can figure something out. This question comes to us from Lai. Lai wants to know about user queue level activity. Lai writes, I would like to see down to a user level which queue they were working on and when. For example, user A, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. queue name, 10 to 12 p.m. queue name, etc. Is that possible? George, what do you think?
I'd have to check real quick. I'm not sure there's a way. Let me share my screen for a moment, and there's a possibility that I could find something. I would look first in the performance menu, probably queues, activity. And looking at my, say, customer service queue. Agents. I don't know if there's
Like an actual time
a field for it over here. I'm just looking down to see if there's anything on when they activate or deactivate. Don't see anything there. And then the activity. You've got on queue and off queue. Yeah, I was hoping there was something in here that I could just turn on and be able to see it, but I don't really know of anything in here that's going to enable what they're looking for. So the best would probably be to do some kind of agent activity view to see when they're online or offline or on queue or off queue for the specific queue. But other than that, here I can see a date range. I can see how long they're on queue, but it doesn't tell me exactly what times they were on queue, unfortunately. So,
Gotcha.
no, I cannot think of how to do it. I'm sorry.
No worries, but you're thinking this might be something they can pull out of the API?
That'd be the only other place I could think of where it might actually exist, yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, sorry we couldn't get that answered for you. It definitely sounds like an interesting report to have, and hopefully you can figure out a way to do it. We will go ahead and add this to the bounty board just in case somebody has maybe an API query or something like that that they've already built that they feel like sharing. We can go ahead and throw that up there and hopefully get somebody some GCAP points. All right, cool. George, that ends it. That ends Stump the Expert. I think we got 2 new questions on the board, which is pretty good for you. Something really exciting, the last time you were on this show, I think, we did our very first Newsflash segment, and you were not invited to participate. This week, however, the tides have changed. I now am really hoping you can hang on to help do a deep dive on our #1 item on the list. What do you think, George? You got a few more minutes for us?
Oh, definitely. I've been working on this all morning, getting thoroughly prepped up, kind of.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get started with Community Newsflash. All right, everyone, time for Community Newsflash, the top 5 things you need to know going into the month of October. I know, outside there are odd noises, spooky little things going on, but I promise you, there is nothing scary about these updates. Let's get started with number 5, Preferred Agent Routing. PureCloud recently released Preferred Agent Routing, where administrators can set rules for processing and assigning interactions to the right agent. Pretty cool, right? Preferred agents are agents that you select to handle interactions based on characteristics you determine, such as skill level, responsibility, or customer relationships. For example, imagine routing an interaction to an agent who has a higher level of product knowledge and historical information about a case. Maybe they're even the particular handler of that account. Could you ask for a better overall experience? I don't know. If you have any questions about this, go ahead and post in the community. We'd love to hear what's going on and how you're liking the new feature. What? Just heard a strange noise. Let's head upstairs to see what the commotion is. Coming in at number 4, PureCloud Advanced Architect course. In case you haven't checked it out yet, Genesys University has launched Beyond. It's an exciting new platform for registering and attending courses. So I encourage you to check that out. But in particular, a new PureCloud course has just been released, the PureCloud Advanced Architect course. It trains users in building basic and advanced call flows. Topics include user prompt recording and uploading, call flow design, creating inbound and outbound call flows, secure call flows, and IVR use of data actions. The content is reinforced with learning checks, demonstrations, and hands-on exercises to enhance the user experience for you. What are you waiting for? Check it out. Uh-oh. Is that a tap? I'm not sure, but don't be afraid of these notifications. Number 3, Feature Fridays is back. That's right, we thought it was gone, maybe buried alive, but they are back. And it's never been easier to follow. Just join Genesys on your favorite social sites and never worry about falling behind on what PureCloud can do for you. With continuous deployments, PureCloud is constantly releasing new features or enhancing existing ones. And they're all available to you right away. So subscribe and stay up to date on everything PureCloud. All right, no tricks with this next one, just treats. Number 2, free trials in the App Foundry. This is something a lot of people have been waiting for. And yes, it's now available. Select providers now offer free trials for premium applications, allowing you to try an application at no cost and with no commitment for 30 days. Not bad. Well, we haven't exactly talked about what costumes we'll be wearing just yet for the upcoming festivities, but it looks like PureCloud is getting a makeover itself. And coming in at number 1, we're going to talk about the PureCloud rebranding. What are we waiting for? George is going to walk us through this. George, what do you have to show?
I just wanted to take a quick walkthrough on the user interface and show the new color scheme that we've got for PureCloud. They've been working really hard on getting it all coordinated throughout the admin menus and all such, and just wanted to show what it looks like and the fact that really nothing has changed in the settings, just the colors look a bit different. So here we have the main screen for my PureCloud admin user interface. That's where a lot of the administrators will be seeing stuff. I'll get back to the user interface in just a minute. Just want to point out that it really doesn't look any different than it has, just the colors along the outside borders have changed. So let me just switch over to the user interface real quick and show you that that has no real changes either. You can see the profile, just the colors have changed around the edges. If I go into the ACD agents interface, nothing is really going to be startling about it. So you can reassure them, no, there's really nothing has changed in the agent UI. If I take a call, nothing's really changed there. The scripts look the same. The buttons are the same. So all the controls will be familiar to them. All they're going to have is a difference in color. So if the agents get confused, just assure them that it's fine and it's supposed to look like that.
Gotcha. And I don't think we have a specific date for when this will be released, but the idea is that this will be coming soon. We're really targeting end of this month, but soon I think is the general release time, right?
Right. They're wrapping up some final details to get into the production side and should be any time now. Yep.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks, George, for hanging around for this segment. We appreciate you.
Thanks for tuning in for this week's episode. We hope it was helpful and maybe a little bit entertaining. Each week, our host and experts review community discussions and debate what content to discuss, so your voice matters. Do we miss something? Do you have a question for the show? Let us know. Join the conversation at the Genesys online community. As a Genesys customer or partner, you can create an account. Just click the sign in button found on most pages and follow the necessary instructions to create an account. Also, feel free to email us at qashow@genesys.com. We'd love to hear from you. If this is your first episode, welcome. You can view our entire archives. Go to the Helpful Links panel found on most community pages and find the QA Show archive that interests you. We appreciate your support of the show and the community. Cheers!